there's two things in karate or martial arts. There's self-perfection, and then there's self-preservation. I tend to teach in my martial arts more self-preservation, which is brutal fighting skills. The things that are most common in karate schools today are more self-perfection, fitness, order, a little bit of self-defense, good character.
Discipline.
Discipline, things like that. So if you're asking whether the bullies should take karate or if they'll benefit from it, I think their character would improve. If the teacher is good, then their character would improve, because I've seen a lot of people turn around in my academies.
Okay.
So I think it would help their character, and I recommend and encourage everyone to take martial arts. As far as I'm concerned, it should be in every school.
Yeah, I do too. If I may add, if I may add, and I want you to go ahead and tell me I'm wrong if I am, Scott. But you see, your nephew, Kate, I believe, because I've been through it, is going to have a certain confidence, a certain posture, a certain calmness when they're confronted with a bully that is actually a deterrent. There was a guy who was, whatever, second-degree black belt, insert the discipline here, and he came into my store years ago, and two things dawned on me. One, I never would have known this guy was a black belt, and God help me if you get into a fight at the bar because I was being an idiot. And two, he had this presence, this aura, that once they have that confidence that they can defend themselves, that actually deters the bullies. And bullies are 99% BS.
Absolutely, Norm.
Well, good. That answered my question.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
I think
Thank you, Kate.
he's doing a good thing. Dave in West Bay. David, you're on with Scott Bolan.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good, Dave. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I have had a passing interest in martial arts, and primarily for the couple of things that you mentioned, and that is the physical fitness aspect of it and the self and mind discipline. But your comment about the McDojos is what piqued my interest, because I've looked at a few here in Traverse City, and that's all there are is a few, because we are a small community, and I'm wondering what criterion you would advise to choose one for those kinds of things, because the black belt would only be a secondary thing. It's the discipline that I'm looking for.
McDojo, let's have a working definition of that, Scott, because I almost asked you about that before.
Okay. Well, like McDonald's, it's a commercial enterprise set up to serve as many as possible. And you see them in the strip mall. You see the kids with the Ninja Turtle things on. And basically they're not doing it with intention. They're punching the air. And you need to do that in order to perfect the technique. But after you get it down a couple times, you need it against progressive resistance. And what does that mean? That means against a bag, so you're hitting an object, and then against an opponent who's actively trying to resist you, and that's sparring. If you never get sparring, or if you have to wait 2 years and get a black belt in order to make physical contact, you're just punching the air. It's like dry land swimming. And so martial arts is relationship. It's very much relationship. And so you need someone who's going to have you sparring. And one good thing about this new mixed martial arts craze is you're getting a lot of these MMA schools popping up, and they mix it up. You want to mix it up and actually have an opponent that you're sparring with, of course under the teacher's supervision, but that way you're not just going to be punching air and saying ki and getting little stripes on your belt.
Yeah, learning the forms, Yeah,
see, those kata are only good for some self-perfection and fitness, but if you're going to learn self-defense and want to learn how to really fight, you're going to need someone who's resisting you actively, and the air is not resisting you. See? Or when they come and say, okay, put your foot here and you're going to punch here, and little Johnny, you're going to block here, well, that's not the reality of a street fight. People move. People aren't predictable. They won't set themselves according to a pattern in a karate school. So you want to think outside that pattern. And how can I? So
how can he find one though if that's all they have in this area?
Well, when you call, always ask, do you have sparring? And go observe a class. And when I say sparring, ask if they have freestyle sparring, because that's going to be the crucible where you actually learn how to fight. Otherwise, if it's entirely controlled and you come in and one punch and the guy steps back, one punch, and the teacher says stop, that's going to take 10 years. When what could take 10 days or 10 weeks. So when you call the school, always ask, well, do you have sparring? Ask a bit about their background. If they're someone who just bought a franchise, say a Taekwondo franchise, And you can go look if it's a commercial outlet, if they serve a lot of kids, then what they're doing is they're kind of doing, it's more like a daycare or a Sunday school. And I hate to put it that way, and it's still...
It is, though.
And it's still a positive thing.
Yeah.
It's still a positive thing, but it's baby stuff. If you want to get to the real stuff, you've got to look hard, and it's out there. And a lot of these MMA fighters, if they're mixing it up with Muay Thai, with Jiu-Jitsu, but you don't want to be a style specialist where you're only, say, ground fighting. Because if you're only trained in ground fighting, what if you can't take them to the ground? See, and you don't always want to be in the ground. So you want a complete system, and that's what I teach. I teach hitting, which is boxing, kicking for the feet, trapping, which is joint locks and things like that, grappling on the floor, and then weapons and mass attack, 2 or more attackers. That covers the complete spectrum of fighting. So unfortunately, I don't have a school there. But call around, and there's probably someone out there who's what you're looking for. It takes time, but you'll recognize a commercial enterprise versus someone who's really dedicated to the art.
All right. Thanks for the call, David.
I hope that helps, Dave.
Well, a couple of things you mentioned that I had to comment on is that when I took Taekwondo in college, it was mostly stretching, learning the forms once you were up. And I was watching the kids, this is Taekwondo, I was watching the students over at Judo. And Judo, they were taking each other down. They were grabbing each other and going. So what we did is we, being fans of Taekwondo, a friend of mine who's now a state trooper, we got the pads, the necessary pads. It wasn't an all-out fight. We don't need to lose teeth over this.
Correct.
But we went upstairs on the mats outside of the class, and we just made moves and saw how the other person reacted, and I thought it was interesting. And now going back to the police department, we do pressure point control tactics, and there's straight arm takedowns and some things like that. But I've never done it in uniform. In uniform, add 20 pounds. Add a gun, add the asp, add the pepper spray, add the boots, add the bulky uniform. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be able to react in that action, not in that situation? I don't know, and that's what I don't like about the training. But I can tell you this, folks, if you're all worried about this, every single deputy or city cop or state cop out there has had to get into a fight. They've had to. Mm-hmm. So now that's where they get their experience. But as a peon, I've often wondered. Let's go to Charlie. You are on with Scott Bolan from scottbolan.com, B-O-L-A-N, scottbolan.com. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, I'm well, thank you.
Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Scott. Before I ask my question, either one of you guys hear about the shooting at Burger King in Miami yesterday?
I don't believe I have.
No, I didn't.
Well, anyway, a guy came in with a stocking mask to a busy Burger King and pulled out a gun and, asked him to fill his bag, and a customer happened to have a concealed carry, and he took him out.
Good.
Good.
The customer did get shot, though.
No wonder we didn't hear about it in the news.
That's right.
It was on Drudge this morning from some obscure thing, but you'll never hear it on NBC Nightly News, I'm sure.
No, you'll hear about it when the guy who shot the bad guy is sued.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Scott, you had mentioned some psychological things you can do to deter an attack. Could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all,
I'm going to hang up and listen. So.
Thanks,
okay.
Charlie.
Okay, Charlie. Naturally, when you train in the martial arts, like Norm mentioned, you exude an inner confidence that often repels a physical attack. A couple of other things are, one thing is look like you know where you're going. If you're Bambi lost in New York City, they pick up on that energy. They come right in on you.
Yep.
So by looking like you know where you're going, looking through the forehead, and as if you're looking through and behind them, like someone's coming up behind them, is another way that's worked very well. So you exude a confidence and you look like you know where you're going, not fumbling with your keys, having your keys ready, things like that. And psychological, intimidation, look someone in the eye and come right up to them and have that, not flinching and looking away and looking down.
This is once they're intimidating you.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so you don't look down and look away as if you don't want to be there, because it's a form of denial, oh no. But instead coming right up and bold and looking right into the eyes. See, they don't want that direct kind of bold person. They want a timid person. I think Ted Bundy was interviewed and they said, how did you choose your victims? And he'd say, well, the ones that would just whimper and come with me and do what I say.
Oh.
But then the ones that put up a fight and screamed and yelled and kicked and bite and spit, those ones he just let them go.